I'm Mike McMeekin, Executive Director of Engineering Change Lab USA. We are here at the 2022 Engineering Ideas Institute at the beautiful Colorado Chautauqua in Boulder. And I'm here with one of our provocateurs, Daniel Lawse of Verdis Group, who today spoke to us about the need to move beyond sustainability to a paradigm of regeneration in the way we think about and do our work in the engineering community. Daniel, you gave a great provocation, inspiration to all of us. I'm asking you to summarize that in just 2 or 3 highlights for our listeners.
Thank you, Mike. It's been a great honor to be here at the Engineering Ideas Institute. Regeneration, it's a concept that people don't fully understand yet. I think a lot of people are learning about it, and so I like to present it at its most basic as regeneration means we're doing more good. And in fact, there's even a de-emphasis on the doing, because a regenerative system is self-maintaining and creating more conditions conducive to life. So I think one of the highlights that I bring up is that how we think matters, and are we using language that creates regenerative systems, language that creates life and creates thriving and resilience? Or are we using language to create degenerative systems that are harmful? So as we move past from degenerative, harmful systems to sustainable, doing no harm, how do we move beyond to those regenerative systems? And when we think differently and have a few critical shifts, which I'll share a couple of them, it will help us actually innovate and discover what this regenerative system looks like in whatever profession, in whatever community we're in. It's not prescriptive, but if people can begin to think in a regenerative fashion, then they will come up with solutions that I could never come up with, or an expert in this field wouldn't come up with. So one of the critical shifts that happens, as a second thing to highlight here, is this shift from separate to interconnected.
Right.
So often in our worlds, we think in separate terms. We categorize things and put things into buckets, and then we become experts in them, and then we keep them in our buckets, or we have departments and divisions in our companies or groups in our communities, and we don't communicate and interact across those systems. And when we realize quite literally that we are the earth walking on earth, that was one of the philosophical points, because I'm consuming oxygen with every breath, and I'm breathing out carbon dioxide and oxygen. And quite honestly, you probably breathed in some of the oxygen molecules and carbon molecules that were in my body. Like, we are literally connected to everything else, the plants, the animals, other people, the non-living elements of this earth. And when we harm those elements, we're harming ourselves. And to harm ourselves is to harm the earth. And so it's a bit philosophical, but when somebody gets it, and they can feel that inside, it's going to change how they think. Because when I come up with an engineering solution, I'm going to take into account all of the different ways that the impact of this solution will be flow through all living beings, not just my own personal self. And this idea of being connected also requires an invitation to those individuals or beings that are going to be impacted. So who speaks for the trees when we're doing a project that's going to impact trees? Who speaks for the community that this project is going to be developed in?
Daniel, thank you for that insight, and we will all come away with a greater sense of that interconnectedness of our work to people and to the rest of the world. Thank you.
One other thing that I would add for the third thing, since you asked for 3, is this critical shift from short-term thinking to long-term thinking. And I love the 7th generation principle that the Iroquois nation shared with the founding fathers of the United States and some of the Constitution, but the 7th generation never quite made it fully into our Constitution. They took other elements. And this is the idea that the decisions we make today, we need to consider the impact for 7 generations. And probably the most poignant way to think about this is what would happen if business leaders thought 150 years into the future as opposed to just quarterly profits. The whole way of doing business would change. We would invest in our people and our communities and our projects instead of thinking about cost. It costs too much. And what would happen if our elected officials didn't make decisions based on the next election cycle, but instead made decisions 7 generations down the road? Our entire country and systems would look differently, because we would be thinking about those people that we have not yet even met, that are not even born yet. And so we have to take care of the places that will take care of those people and create systems that cultivate life, not just for today, but for generations.
It's a true challenge to the way we teach engineering, to the way we practice engineering. Thank you again.
Absolutely.